What was a slide that you guys found that was memorable in this pitch deck? If you guys remember one, or
I
you don't,
like the appendix one.
the appendix.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, when you go to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, that one right there. Nope, that one. That next one down. So the usage based pricing was something I'd never seen them talk about, and from the contract piece, what this allows you to do is all of a sudden uh, get customers to get their hands on it and not have to have a big stake in it. So if you start attacking the developers within organizations and get them using this, I think that could speed up the acquire stage for them quite a bit. And then the other bullet point I was happy to see was it also enables the GSI partners. So for those in the software world, GSI partners are like your big consultants like Deloitte, Accenture. I don't even know if Booz Allen technically is one. They're more of a security partner, but there's a lot of different consulting partners who do these, Endava's in one. So it allows them to then be as consultants to use the technology to prove out problem solving and get Palantir in the door. And I would assume IBM and their Salesforce and AWS's Salesforce will also be using this kind of usage-based model, which is great just to get people in.
I agree. Can we talk about this governmental stuff? They did not include the number of clients that they got from government, which
3.
was, yeah, that was the biggest red flag to me. I didn't like that. I
But
mean,
they already have a majority of the entire government, right? Like where they would expand is in other countries. Like,
yeah, but that's just an excuse at the end of it. Like it's kind of valid in Kathy's argument that they're not getting
Mhm.
governmental clients, right? That's the part that I was like, that kind of sucks.
well, there's still a whole bunch of RPO revenue for government clients. If you look at the 10Q, that's still not claimed. So I just have a feeling we're coming up on government buying season. And we also have all the Ukraine stuff to recognize. And I don't think our world's getting any easier. I definitely don't think it'll always be at 16% by any means.
I
I
would like
bet.
to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Sorry.
ahead, Arnie. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would
No, no,
like
you
to
go ahead.
highlight two things. First, we are making a tough comparison because comparing a number with 76% year on year is obviously difficult. So when you make this kind of comparisons, there is a base effect to consider in, and that 75% was boosted by the COVID contracts. So not to say that 16% is great, but there is this consideration that must be taken off. Second, I read from a contractor, defense contractor earnings release that the budget was enacted only on the 15th of March, the Department of Defense budget. Therefore, basically, new contracts coming from the Army were not there. So it's true, 16% is not amazing, but if you see the revenues from all the military contractors, like H3 Larrys, Lockheed Martins, all the other guys, they were all flat or negative because they received a boost from last year and then they received less revenues now. And they even have negative free cash flow because it means that the government basically didn't pay them because they had an increase in receivables. And, in this situation, you would normally be scared. But here comes what Karp insisted on, the quality of government revenues. Because, government can be late, can have delays also on the budget. But in the end of the day, you know that the government is there and will pay you. So not to say the quarter was great. I would say it is not that bad as we think, probably.
One of the funniest things, I won't go into too much of it, but the government is the best customer, but it's also the worst customer. I've actually had to deal with this where we've had vendors basically hound us, be like, hey, when are you guys going to? So what happens is when you're working with the government, they make you sign these really archaic deals where they get almost like an unlimited amount of time to pay their bills before they're not unlimited, but it's a very long period of time. So when you provide a service, normally it's net 30 days. So within 30 days, you have to, you have to pay them. Otherwise, they put you on a credit hold. So when you have a credit hold, what happens is they won't provide you any more services. They won't provide you with any of the revenue. Any of the products that you were order for them. But Palantir can't do that. Palantir can't just say, well, guess what? Federal government, you didn't pay us this quarter, so we're going to shut Gotham off, right? And that's why Sham, even during the thing, said, we're not going to stop doing business just because the paperwork wasn't there, right? Remember he said that. So that should have clued people in to say, look, the government just hasn't sent the money to us. It's in the receivable side, right? But it just hasn't made its way through the actual recording of the revenue yet. When it does get recorded, it'll be there again. The other thing is this Ukrainian thing happened at the latter half of the quarter, probably towards way at the end of the quarter. So a lot of that revenue, that additional revenue, is not there yet. But if you look at it, look at how much money was just appropriated to Ukraine by the Congress, $40 billion, right? That $40 billion, everyone's like, oh, the Ukrainians are getting $40 billion. No, the Ukrainians are not getting $40 billion. I would be surprised if they got even 10% of that money. Most of that is going to go towards all the defense contractors, all the agencies that support this war. So you're going to have companies like Palantir to say, hey, guess what? We need you to keep spying on the Russians and find out where their tanks are. Palantir, here's a service contract. Hey, Lockheed Martin, keep making all those Javelin missiles. Make as many Javelin missiles as you can and send them to Ukraine, right? So a lot of the appropriations that literally for this war just got approved now. So if you think about it, all those contracts are going to be coming in the next probably 6 to 9, maybe even 12 months. And that's not including any of the additional government revenue that Palantir could possibly pick up in 2023 from the Europeans, who are now probably saying, hey, get in here, Palantir, we need you. I'm telling you, Palantir's hand in the Ukraine conflict is so there, but they can't come right out and say it. Now, the one thing that clued me into it was CARP 2 days before the DNI, which is the Director of National Intelligence, comes out and say, hey, Russia might actually pose a nuclear threat. Do you know who did it? CARP said it 2 days before, which kind of tells you right there, wait a second, how does the CEO of a company know something even before the person who's got the hearing out there says it? Well, that means that guess what? Palantir is getting all that information. Palantir is probably processing all that information and even giving it to the decision makers on the Hill to say, here's all the data where all the Russian tanks are. Here's what Putin is doing with his nuclear missiles, that they're moving them closer to the border.
So what if they don't get government growth in extra quarters? What if it's relatively flat? Does that totally change the thesis at that point?
I think it's going to be at least. I don't know how these contracts are going to be divvied up and when they're actually going to get paid out. Right? If we don't see anything in the year, then there's some other question. Then it's wait a second, maybe there's something that we need to kind of take a step back at. But for me, I feel like within the next year, we're definitely going to see a lot of growth. And I think maybe they're kitchen sinking the government revenue a little bit this quarter and just getting it out the way. So next year in the same quarter, maybe you'll see another 70% rise in government revenue. Who knows?
All right.
I think you said properly 1 year time, because also from the calculations I made, it really takes at least 1 year to say, okay, you got the client, then you get a reasonable amount of revenues from that client. And already seeing after 2 years, if I say correctly, of government staying at 90 clients, getting 3 clients now is great. For sure, 3 clients will generate revenues, reasonable revenues in a year time. Because the problem with government maybe is that you start small, but when it can get big, it gets very big.
Yeah, and I just got pinged on Twitter. A person I used to know at VMware very, very experienced salesperson, over 15 years of IT sales. Worked in the Fed division for CDW, WWT, which is a phenomenal partner, and then last 5 years been at VMware. Now just moved to Palantir to be a new AE client exec for their healthcare division in DC. So they're going to start getting seasoned salespeople who know how to sell, and then get them enabled on this tech. And I just don't think people are factoring that in. Like, the people that are salespeople right now are mostly legacy people that worked at Palantir prior.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I mean, that's kind of the idea, that they would be able to get that done. I want to share the screen one more time here. So that was the government stuff. Obviously, the 30% revenue growth was awesome, right? This is government. Where's the regular one? This, we have U.S. commercial 136. This was also phenomenal. Oh, in general, they grew 31% year over year, right? But U.S. commercial 136, net dollar retention 124, and U.S. government 30%. I mean, these numbers are not horrible. 86% customer growth, 136% U.S. commercial. Their average revenue for top 20 customers. Like, did any of the numbers make you guys feel bad? Gross margin still at 80%. I know their adjusted operating margin is going to go down to 26%, but that's still decent, especially when you put up all the sales and marketing and SBC they have to give out. Did any of the numbers stick out that were particularly, you don't like those?
I want to just echo Sasha, because I think Sasha was right. Some of the ways that they presented this was a little off-putting, because it's like, dude, you already know. Stop making us do the mental gymnastics.
Yeah. That would be the biggest thing that was off-putting. And I mentioned in my video, and Tom and everyone I think mentioned it, was you had to do the mental math to figure out where the gaps were. And I just got concerning that it wasn't transparent. And that was honestly the only thing that was disturbing from the earnings, was the transparency.
Do you think they were doing that for Wall Street? They were just kind of like scared of Wall Street to some extent?
No, Wall Street would have calculated in a heartbeat. Like, we're simple YouTubers, and we figured it out.
Yeah, Sasha probably already had the numbers figured out as soon as it posted.
Yeah. Sasha was calling it out as it was happening, So just imagine. Yeah.
So why do you think they weren't transparent then?
That's what everyone.
This is what I really didn't find a proper answer. For instance, when you see the net dollar retention, I also wrote about it, that the net dollar retention is 124. So everyone is scared because it's lower compared with last quarter, which was 131. So, oh my God, they're keeping clients less. But the reality is that if you unpack it, you see that the government expanded 116%, or like full capacity of the revenues, because the new clients basically brought a new revenue. And if you do the calculations, it means that the commercial expanded 140%. So it was super positive, combined with the fact that contemporaneously they got a lot of new clients, especially in the US. So that is the key driver, in my opinion, and is working perfectly, especially where they are hired a lot of resources in terms of salespeople. The machine is working. How Palantir can grow exponentially, like having the combination of increasing number of clients, exploding clients. But they didn't want to mention the idea that, hey, customers in the commercial space didn't expand on average. They expanded much more than average, because of the commercial retention was around 120 before. So this was a peak in terms of client expansions, but they didn't mention it. Probably because they didn't want to be forced to keep showing the metric. Otherwise, they would, if they didn't want to show the metric, they would be forced anyway. But still, I would have preferred they said that those things and paid much more attention to explaining why certain things happen. Especially as a former analyst, I see that companies which are more appreciated are those who say, okay, the revenues went up for this reason, the margins compressed for this reason, while they said what happened, they didn't really explain why it happened, and that annoys a lot analysts because their job is to write what the company does, and what analysts do is taking that and add some comment on it, some color, they say. While here, the analyst is like, okay, what I'm going to write? I stick to the things I know for sure, which is SPAC losses, margin compression. I would say maybe there is some competition because it's always good to write.
Good
but
point.
There was no clear explanation. For instance, what I would have said, and this is my speculation, that the margin compressed because they needed to acquire a lot of new clients. And as the SaaS business work, is that you get a lot of clients, you incur into huge losses, and then you see the revenues in the coming quarters. Therefore, a margin compression is actually a good sign if combined with a ramp up in the number of clients. But if you don't explain that, first, we can only speculate, and analysts can't write that on paper because they risk the career if they write it and it's not true. So as an investor, and from what I saw, I believe that is the combination. Still, I want the company to at least hint, okay, if there is a margin compression due to the number increase in the market activity, explain that.
Mm-hmm. And also, guess what? You're working with these system integrators. You think they're doing it for free? You think Accenture is doing it for free? Saying, yeah, guess what? If they're selling your product for you, they're going to expect to get paid for it, which means you're going to have to sacrifice a few points in margin. Guaranteed. But guess what? That opens you up to so many more clients with so many pre-existing conditions, right? Which is what you want. If you are at a point where you're trying to hyperscale, guess what? You need Accenture. You need these companies. You need Dom. Which Dom, you should probably go to Palantir and fucking show these guys how to sell some goddamn software, bro.
I've gotten so many messages on Twitter and LinkedIn about that. In fact, it was so weird. Today I got invited by Palantir to their newsletters thing. That's from them, and of course I accepted it. It was pretty funny. But one thing I do want to point out on the government concern. Like, let's remember what their business model is. And it's one of the things that I'm so in love with and why this company is the acquire, expand, scale business model. It's not until the scale phase that they truly get those larger contracts and those contribution margins growing. So when you look at things like in that presentation, U.S. Space Force, Kobayashi Maru Software Factory built 13 operationally accepted applications on top of Foundry in months. Okay, in months. That's the key part. While sunsetting 100 million plus programs, $100 million worth of plus programs. That is reducing time to value. That is what every software company wants to do for their customer. If you can quantify reducing time to value and prove it that you've saved them that money, you will get those larger expansion contracts. And so when you look at slide 21, U.S. Space Force is delivering new operational capabilities to America's Space Guardians, all built on warp core. It's a weird word. Powered by Foundry, just like Airbus's, their whole Skywise, right? So you're starting to see, like, we know we're going to invest in space. We know the government's going to be there. Then they look at, now the very ambitious one was to become the 6th prime, the first software prime for the government. Hey, if you get that, we'll be good. But I'm not banking on those bold words. But then you also look, they got the UK Royal Navy, right? So yes, it was a $10 million contract. It's going to continue, and it was an expansion contract. So in the business model, the theory is you get to other parts of the business because your product is universal. And now that you've modularized Foundry, all of a sudden you can grow into the other modules for the business as well. I don't know.
Sorry
What are
for
your
interrupting you.
or Arnie?
Why do you think they didn't talk about that slide you liked about the consumption-based model? Because that is something Shyam talked about in the first quarter. It was an interview maybe with Morgan Stanley. But that after that, apart from the data mesh product, this consumption thinking was completely out of the radar. And the slide was there in the appendix. They didn't mention it all. Why?
There's a lot of questions, and that's the only unsettling thing in this being my largest position by far, is that there's certain things, if to Chris's point about running things like a business, I would want to be transparent about certain things. Like I would want to share, okay, we're getting X amount of new people. Like when they said we got 40 customers, net new customers, what do they define as a new customer? Is it when they've gotten to the expand phase? Or is it immediately in the acquire phase? That's something
the acquire phase, from my understanding.
Okay, so the acquire phase. So when you look at like the usage billing model, I would want to highlight we are starting to get new customers on that. And if I have data to share around that, that is something that would allow smaller markets to get in there. The only thing I could think of is if they don't have the support on the back end to support too much customer growth, then you could have a customer support issue. And that's what you don't want.
The other thing is Shyam, I feel like, is not the greatest communicator when it comes to explaining things. And he just goes right back into his tried and true, like, let me just philosophize just like Daddy Carp does, you know. Dude, you're the COO. No, don't do that. You know, like you actually have to have answers for the questions that are being asked of you, especially when it comes to like the business aspects of it. Same thing with the CFO, you know. The one thing that always kind of like, I don't want to say irks me the wrong way, but you know, Shyam doesn't have a business background either. He was one of their first 4 deployed engineers who they made into the COO, right? You would think that, hey, someone who's running the operations side of my organization or business would have some level of business qualifications, who's successfully been able to do things. That would be a good person to have. But, you know, like I said, a lot of the other complaints that I'm hearing from inside Palantir are that majority of the senior executives are only in their position because they've been with the company for so long, not really based on merit. You know, now, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but trust me, I've seen it in my organization where I've seen people pretty much in their position, not because they're good at it, but because they've actually been with the org for like 10, 20 years. And they're usually
around forever though. I think with being a public company, eventually it has to shift.
Yeah, but at what expense? You know, how many years of underperformance do we need before the board? And guess what? This is not even a situation where a board can remove these people and say, hey, good, guess what? You're not doing your job. These are the people who have the super voting majority shares, right? Right now, Alex Karp can veto his own firing.
I'm fine with the executive leadership. I think they're fine. Like I think it's just like I said, we got to give them grace. It's only been not even 2 years. If they had been around publicly for 5 years and Foundry and all this, it'd be a different conversation. But I think in the next 24 months from now, we're gonna be laughing about this conversation. It'll be fun to go archive and look back. But we know what we need to pay attention to, and just we're all committed in the community to stay on it.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to say, and it was in the slides, they actually highlighted YouTubers. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
They actually put on there that
they should have just fucking mentioned us, bro. They should have just been like Amit, Kris, Dom, Arnie. These guys are legit. Sometimes I hate that they're so afraid to just like, because I know they work with the government and all this shit, but like be like Tesla a little bit, bro. Just like acknowledge the motherfuckers that are actually talking about you when your shit is trash right now. Like,
they are talking about Coach Trap, and they are talking about that developer community, which is what we've all been kind of telling them.
The problem is no one cares about the developer community because most people
everyone cares about the developer.
Oh, everyone cares.
No. The developers care about the developer community. The average people, the 185 people watching this, how many people watched the 46-minute tutorial they put out about Foundry? I can guarantee maybe like one person out of the 185 actually watched it. No, like here's the thing about the developer community. Let me say this very clear. No one gives a shit about it. The developers give a shit about it because they're going to evangelize it. And the average people searching up Palantir on YouTube, which is what people do on Tesla to develop that retail, they don't give a shit about a developer community.
I don't want them talking about me. I want them talking about the developers because talent is so hard to get across.
I disagree.
I want them saying, we have the best platform for developers. Come work with us.
Why can't they do both? Why can't do to me, you need to acknowledge the people that love you as a company that don't know anything about Python.
They thank their shareholders on every retail shareholders on every.
No, they do bullshit job of thinking they're.
They
do not treat us the way Elon treats his shareholders. That's what my point.
I mean, dude, they're actually giving you a voice. How many other public companies right now are even giving you the opportunity to ask a question in their earnings?
That is true.
No, wait, what are you talking about? Wait, hold on. So, almost every a majority of companies I see have partnered with Say Technologies, and they let retailers ask questions. Like the fact that they let retail shareholders ask questions that, by the way, they get to pick which questions they want to answer. It's all curated.
They asked my question.
You're happy to pick your question. No, my point. It's not that I think they're doing a good job. I just don't think they're doing a great job. Yes, CodeStrap is awesome, but again, at the end of the day, a lot of the content he makes, it's inaccessible to the majority of the masses. For the technical dweebs that really care about it, it's great. And that's who he's for, because those technical people that really care about it, they will be worth millions one day to Palantir. But people like us are not going to watch a 40-minute code.
He just wants a hug. He just wants some love.
Amit, you can have the next question, dude. When we all go to the say.com thing, we'll be like, Amit, I'm not going to ask a question. Amit, you ask a question. Jackson got a question in.
I want Sankar to be tweeting and actually look at this. Look at what I just found. Right, I'm going to show you guys something on Twitter right now. I'm going to show you something on Twitter right now. Someone who barely tweets. And he's in the public eye, and you guys know him very well. He just tweeted today. Okay. Mr. Bezos, look at what he tweeted. Joe Biden, you want to bring down inflation? Let's make sure the wealthiest corporations pay their fair share. Bezos, the newly created disinformation board should review this tweet, or maybe they need to form a new non sequitur board instead. Raising corporate taxes is fine to discuss. Taming inflation is critical to discuss. Mushing them together is just misdirection. Now, regardless of what you think about that tweet, that is what we call a dunk, okay? That is a dunk on Twitter. Most people, or Bezos, doesn't do dunks, ever. This guy, is the most politically correct guy on the planet because he controls $1 trillion company, or he doesn't want to say anything that's mean. Now he's started dunking. I just feel like Sankar could do a little bit on Twitter and just be like, and at, Arnie, at Amit, hey, awesome video, hey, you explained the SPAC thing. Really? You can't do that, even my guy.
I would
you can't
say,
even do that.
Some activity on Twitter would be nice to see. I loved seeing that they are making small videos on Twitter. For instance, I started sharing things on Palantir, especially sharing the 20-30 seconds clip. I would have liked to see them doing rather than the 3 minutes videos, because I would say the 3 minutes videos, unless you are passionate, you don't care of it. But if you have those 20 seconds, problem, how Palantir solves that problem, that is great. So I love seeing them going in that direction, but I also would like to see them generating some interactions, maybe with one person only related to that.
Bro, just have fun on Twitter. Stop being like a robot on Twitter. Tweet an emoji. You know what I'm saying? It's
Amit, let's just go to the meatpacking district, me and you, next weekend, and just show up to the headquarters. Be like, yo, we're here to see Carp. We're here to see Carp.
I know Carp can't be on Twitter because I know Palantir in general can't tweet because they have government.
Yeah, there's a lot of regulation. Yeah,
I get it, but
we are the evangelists now.
Yeah, but you guys could be you could have a social media person that acknowledges us, just like every company has hire some intern and they do the social media and they can be under tight regulation, but they can quote tweet some of our articles and shit. You know what I mean? It's just. I don't know. I don't think they give enough love to shareholders at all.
Robinhood has this girl related to crypto, which is very, very active.
Really? What's her name?
Yeah, Brown, I think.
Wait, what's the point of this crypto girl? Why'd you bring her up?
Because this girl, Christina Brown.
It's kind of like how Elon always reaches out to. What's his name? There's a few YouTubers that Elon always talks to, invites to things. Yes. So is that what you want, Amit? Are you trying to be that guy for Palantir? I'll write a letter, bro. I'll write a letter to Carp. Let's make this happen. Let's get Amit in front of Karp.
I'm not like trying to be an attention whore or anything. I'm just genuinely saying like the love that we give this company in terms of the content we make, I do not feel that reciprocated at all. I'm being very honest. I see it reciprocated against
Podcast,
which is
all the
great.
people that are on the comments right here just still going at it while we're rambling.
Well, I'm definitely out. I just badmouth Karp being like, oh, he doesn't know how to run his business. So I'm definitely not getting an invite to the Christmas party. Maybe Amit, I could be your +1 and we could go, bro.
It's not even about positive coverage. It's just like, bro, like, I don't know, man. Bro, even the earnings call, it was just like, it felt so pre-recorded and robotic. Like, again, I totally agree with Sasha in terms of the presentation. It just wasn't like, it wasn't doing it for me. Not on this one. The full year earnings call was, why can't every earnings call be live like that? Like, why can't they do it live every time like that?
Yeah, because he keeps dropping F-bombs.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's probably what happened. He dropped the F-bomb. Palantir's like,
that's an execution risk.
Yeah.
You can't send Karp in not pre-recorded. You go and drop some F-bombs on it. Dude, you could tell the investor relations lady in the back was probably like, please God, no more. And
Ryan
it still has hasn't been proven. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, I said it still hasn't been proven that Cathie Wood sold off because he swore. Literally, I still think that Cathie Wood sold Palantir, not because this government nonsense slowed down. I think she was like, no, I believe in Jesus, and Jesus said you can't curse. And you know what? I can't be invested in a company where the CEO is cursing about their product. And that's why she sold everything. Dude, you know that she started ARK because Jesus told her to, right? I don't know if you know that, but it's true.
I found it weird, but yeah, I like the perspective.
As per my dream, she said DataWalk is going to eat their lunch, so I still think that's why she sold them off. Ryan tweeted at me. He tweeted Shanker and Palantir. Amit feels he needs more recognition. Please shout him out so he's not sad anymore. Let's go to Shankar's Twitter page, bro. I'm about to go to this guy's Twitter page.
Oh gosh,
no, but this guy really be tweeting about,
bro? Let's just show up at his penthouse, bro. I know where he lives. Let's go. Let's make this happen, bro.
All right, COO Palantir Tech, and they got this stupid link in the bio. Like, bro, come on, bro. Like, all right. When is he last tweet? Look at this. He hasn't even tweeted anything, bro. He's just be retweeting stuff. Last thing he tweeted was December 2021, bro. Come on. Like, I'm just saying. I'm not saying I want a COO who's tweeting all day. I'm just saying you could do a little bit more to acknowledge the community. Is that too much to ask? That's not crazy to ask.
You need to hire Amit. He'll run your Twitter page like there's no tomorrow.
This is a job interview for Amit right now.
Yeah.
Bro.
Amit, do you know?
If I ran their Twitter page, they would fire me so fast.
Dude, no. Look at Wendy's. Look at Wendy's Twitter. Dude,
yeah,
Wendy's Twitter
can't
flames
do that,
everyone.
Right?
Well, we can end it on this. I think we were all right about Faraday Future. Turns out they just had earnings, and they missed very badly by $1.06 earnings per share negative.
Yeah, they're probably.
They had $666 million in September of 2021. Now they only have $276 million, and they also have a repayment of owing another 97. So cash burn is important to watch. That is always a good metric to make sure you watch there for all the investments you have.
Last thing,
I want to be a part of this every Friday, man. You guys do it at night, which is great because my kids are in bed, my wife's asleep. Like, I'm game.
Yeah, come on, man. Every 11 p.m. every Friday, we're here. One thing is Ray Dalio's fund, Bridgewater Associates. They put out they have a $500,000 share, $7 million share position in Palantir that came out today. I think they probably did that within the last couple of weeks. Hopefully, they didn't sell it off over the past couple of weeks as well. But that's cool.
It's interesting because you know that Bridgewater was one of the early clients of Palantir, probably for the Palantir Finance.
Right.
Did they stick with them?
Well, Palantir Finance isn't around anymore.
No. Did they stick with Palantir in general?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could assume no because there's been no leakings of it, but theoretically, we don't know Palantir's customer base. So I mean, all right, good stuff, guys. Hour 30 minutes. This was awesome. 167 people. Everyone's stuff is in the chat or in the description. Dom's channel, Chris's channel. I put Arnie's Twitter. Please follow all of them. Check them out. Great content on Palantir and investing in general. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
See you guys.
See you.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you, guys.